Hey everybody, it's your boy Draylon from Star Child City Amusements. I don't really do too much on my YouTube, but I'm gonna change that. When I first started this channel, I wanted to make some videos for things that go on with my business, Star Child City Amusements. But I understand like everybody doesn't like to have, their private, stuff put out on social media or YouTube of the sorts. So I decided to slow down on that. I got to ask people for consent before I put it on here. So instead of doing that all the time, I decided I need to get a little bit more active on here. I'm gonna start giving commentaries on situations that are going on in the gaming space. I have been a gamer for as long as I can remember, man. Since the late 80s when my first console, the Nintendo Entertainment System. And yeah, I'm giving away my age. It is what it is. Starting with the Nintendo Entertainment System, I grew up going to arcades. Arcades are my heart. I feel like going to the arcade is an experience like none other. And that's one of the reasons I started Star Child City Amusements, because I feel like those games have staying power. Those games are meant to be replayed. They're meant to be played with friends. They're meant to go on and on and on. And a lot of these games that I serve to the public, they stand up to the test of time. And I feel like, it's a market for it. And since I'm still in business, I think that I've been right so far. And all of that happened with my business mainly because of my experience with video games. And I feel like I got a wealth of knowledge that I could put out there. So that's one of the main reasons I decided, this would be a good thing to do. I grew up during my topic for today. I grew up during the 90s console wars. I saw it from beginning and I saw it to the end. And to me, I feel like that's the only console war that has happened. You know what I'm saying? Sega and Nintendo, they really weren't like really huge companies. They grew from like Nintendo got their notoriety mainly in the 80s, and they just built and built and built and built. Sega was a big arcade developer, and they got in the console game and they built their company up and up and up and up. So once the 90s came around, those are the two that were competing with each other and couldn't nobody touch them. Every single bit of hardware and software that they put out, that's what the standard was. That's what everybody wanted to be. Whether it was the people that were on the outside looking in, like TurboGrafx 16, you had the Neo Geo who went about it the wrong way. And, everybody was trying to play catch up with Nintendo and Sega. And Nintendo and Sega, they basically were just trying to one up each other. To be a kid around that time, it was great because you had a really hard decision to make. Was I going to have the Nintendo version of a game, or did I want the Sega version of the game? And it was head to head. If somebody just played Sega Genesis, they were missing out what was coming out on Nintendo. They really were missing out what was coming out on Nintendo. And it was a hard decision to make. And the thing is, as a kid, I really didn't have a decision to make. It depended on what my parents bought me. So I was more of a Sega Genesis kid. And it was mainly because I wanted a Sega Genesis. That was it. Like their campaign was crazy. Like they catered towards the older kid audience. And the thing is, I had a lot of older siblings, well, older cousins and stuff that was in that demographic. And I didn't want to feel like I was a baby for playing Nintendo. So I begged my grandmother to get me a Sega Genesis. I played my NES like crazy. All those games that they had on there is really just all we had at the time. 8-bit gaming was super fun, but when 16-bit came around, you were still playing NES or anything that was 8-bit or like Sega Master System. Once those consoles came out, it just seemed like you were behind and everybody else was having the fun that you wished that you were having. So I remember at Christmas, I ended up getting my Sega Genesis. And the rest is history. Like I was on the Sega side. Not saying Nintendo, I hated Nintendo because I had a lot of cousins that had Super Nintendo. I was the only one with a Genesis. And, you know, I enjoyed the games that I played with them. But, like, man, when I went home, I was ready to get on my Genesis and pick up where I left off. But it is what it is. Like, I saw the ups of Sega, and I saw when they fell off. I saw the ups of Nintendo. I saw all of the mistakes that they made. And I saw them recover from it. And they ended up, I don't even want to say they won the console war, but they was the last one standing. The end of the 90s console war ended with Sony and their technology leapfrogging everybody. And they ended up putting Sega out of business, putting Sega out the console market because they made some bad decisions. That's just it. Honestly, I feel like Sega would still be around if they would have put a DVD in the Dreamcast. But that's a video for a whole nother day. This is why I feel that the console wars ended with the Dreamcast dying. A lot of the systems in the early 2000s, it really wasn't like, okay, if I got a PlayStation 2, I was missing out on a version of a game that was coming out for Xbox. I felt like once AAA blockbuster games, the same versions of the games were coming out for both those consoles, I felt like the world wasn't even, it wasn't even worth it. Yeah, you had exclusive games that you really couldn't play on different consoles, but a lot of the ones, the multi-platform games, those are the ones that were the most popular. Those are the ones that everybody wanted to play. Like, there wasn't a version of Madden that was different from the version on PlayStation or Xbox or whatever was out at the time. I know Nintendo, they were doing some weird stuff in the early 2000s with the Wii and Wii U, but nobody really was checking for that. The two bigs were Xbox and PlayStation. And gaming is so weird now. I just don't see how anybody can choose sides. Really, really soon, everything's going to be played on everything. I know even though Xbox has made some horrible, horrible, horrible decisions, they still standing and they still putting out hardware. But the thing is, the hardware they putting out, if you're a console war person, it's scary because you're going to be able to play PlayStation stuff on the Xbox. It doesn't matter how you flip it or what you want to call it. You can call it a PC or whatever, but it's still got Xbox branding, and that's one of the big two, PlayStation and Xbox. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is now, silently, PlayStation doing the same thing. And that's it. As a matter of fact, I think I'll go back on my things. I think that the console wars just ended when the Xbox 360 came out and the PlayStation 3. Everybody, there was reasons to buy certain consoles, but like all the multi-platform stuff that people played, they came out on both consoles. Unless you just lived for Uncharted or lived for Gears of War or something like that, that determined on which one that you would buy. And the thing is, Microsoft is a mega corporation. So even if they didn't sell much on Xbox or whatever, they still could buy Sony at a whim if they decided to. Sony's the one that has to make all the good decisions. Xbox, they'll make a good decision, they'll screw it up, but they still strong. Like, they got PC sales and they doing all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily feel like, there's nothing on the line for either of these companies. You know what I'm saying? If Microsoft want to stay in the console game, they can stay as long as they want to, man. They got more money than everybody. Sony, they have more room for error because, a lot of people own their consoles. But the thing is, you're not missing out on too much. PlayStation puts their stuff out on PC. If you don't want to get a PlayStation, you just get a PC. Anybody can turn their home computer into a PC and game on it. I know a lot of computer mechanics that like to soup their stuff up and try to get the best experience possible. Me personally, I don't count PC as a platform because it's basically a home computer. But that's just it. There's nothing really at stake for either of the companies. A lot of PlayStation fanboys, they like to say Xbox is going to die and go out of business. Xbox, I mean, honestly, with a company like that, Microsoft ain't going nowhere. They're not. And I know that people like to attack the Xbox brand. People still own their consoles. People own PCs. People use Windows. And as long as people use Windows, you know, Xbox ain't going nowhere. They're a division. They still make a lot of money off of gaming. So they're not gonna go anywhere. So I feel like the only competition, Microsoft has is themselves. They trying to make this landscape of Game Pass and all of this stuff. There's nobody that has anything that can compete with Game Pass. You got day one games coming out on that. Like, you back in the 90s and stuff, you couldn't do that. I know Sega came out with Sega Channel, but they didn't put in like games that just came out on there. Anything that if you had the Sega Channel, like with your cable subscription, they had a big library of games that you could go through and play. It was real innovative, and it was probably the first Game Pass. But that's kind of an evolution of the Sega Channel. To me, I call Game Pass a Netflix for video games. To me, there's nothing out there touching it at all. Sony still puts out like really solid exclusives, but even they getting stagnant. The last few games they don't put out lately have been nothing but remasters and remakes. So gaming is super duper weird. It's weird right now. It's not like it used to be. Physical media is dying and everything is going all digital. It's getting to the point where nobody's going to actually own the games that they have. I went to a GameStop and there was a game I wanted to get, and I thought it was going to be like the only thing that I use with physical media is my Xbox Series X. And a lot of the stuff that you would buy, you can buy it. It would be a CD, but you don't necessarily have to have the CD to play the game. Some of them come out with codes. Like you can open the case and there's a code on the inside, and then you just put it in and you got the game. It's not what it used to be. It just isn't. And, and the other thing that was going on with the console wars, you had the companies going at each other on TV, man. It was like the East Coast, West Coast beef in hip hop in the 90s with video games. You had Sega going at Nintendo like crazy. I don't know if anybody remembers the Genesis does with Nintendo commercials. That they were just going straight at them. When Sonic the Hedgehog first came out, they were comparing Sonic the Hedgehog and how fast the game goes compared to Mario Kart and the rest of the stuff on Super Nintendo. That was crazy. Like, and Nintendo just sat back and took it. That was how Sega was like got in the game and how they took the lead on Nintendo in the mid 90s. You don't see that now with Xbox and Sony, because all they worried about is making money. The only people keeping the console so-called war alive is fanboys. In a lot of their arguments on why you should own the console, they're not even valid. They're not valid. The whole Xbox has no games thing went out the window when the Xbox One ended. I mean, you can Microsoft went off on a whole buying spree, and they bought a bunch of companies, and now they've got other companies coming in, and it's building in the Game Pass. It's actually cheaper to play games if you just worried about playing games on Xbox than it is on PlayStation. I own a PlayStation mainly because I like a handful of their exclusives that I do not want to miss. And honestly, one of the exclusives that they had came to Xbox. Yakuza. Yakuza is probably my favorite series in gaming right now. And it came from probably my favorite game developer, Sega. And they put every single one of them in every single Yakuza entry since then has come out on Xbox. And a lot of them come to Game Pass. So right now, I play my Xbox way more than I play my PlayStation. Not that I hate my PlayStation. I love it. It's one of when I stream, it's probably my favorite platform to stream from. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some of these streams here on YouTube. But yeah, I don't understand how people could try and say that the console wars is still alive. I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand how PlayStation people are so angry when Xbox does something. It's not going to affect them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's this big uproar, and I just got wind of this. Don't get on me. You know, I'll get on the internet and read something. I know that Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox, and it's PlayStation people that are flipping their stuff, man. They are losing their minds. They're losing their minds straight up because Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox. Y'all still got it. Like, you can play it on PlayStation. And then everything started to be cross-play. I mean, well, if you want to say there's a console war, I mean, it's a console war on online gaming. You can have PlayStation players going against Xbox players. I mean, that's the only thing that I could say that's an actual console war. But the company's making money, y'all. I mean, nobody's really losing a bunch of money to the point where they're about to go out of business. And you can listen to, like, there's other people that just want to say that Xbox is dying and all of that stuff. I mean, if you listen to some of these other YouTubers, Xbox was supposed to die maybe 15 years ago. It's like, it's wild. And it's crazy, but clickbait is clickbait, I guess. So, yeah, that's why I feel like it. I mean, the 90s console wars is something that we'll never see again. Technology has gotten to the point where we're not every generation we're seeing something that's 100% brand new. The jump from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 was one of the craziest things that I'd ever seen in my life. I remember the first time when I still had my 8-bit console and I went to my 16-bit console and I went to an arcade and I saw Virtua Fighter for the first time, excuse me. And it blew my mind. We don't get those, moments anymore because everything is super samey. When a new console comes out, you look at the graphics and you see, well, it's not much different than what it was on like the Xbox Series X. A lot of the games it's different. It's almost samey as Xbox, my Xbox One X for Xbox Series X. I mean, the games that come out, I think that they could run on Xbox One. You know what I'm saying? The only difference is frames. Everybody's looking at frames per second, and that's weird. That is weird. Because if they were looking at frames per second back in like 2099, then Dreamcast probably would have been the best console on the market. So, I mean, the baseline of where we look at video games, it's really low now. It's really low. And you have to really nitpick games on certain consoles in order to like tell the difference. The only reason I like Xbox more than PlayStation is because I like the Xbox controller. I feel like it's the best controller of all time. Period. The reason I got my Xbox Series X is because I have a lot more invested in Xbox than I do PlayStation. I went out and I got a digital PlayStation 5. And I love my PlayStation 5. And I love the games I have on PlayStation 5. But a lot of the games I have on my PS5, I could have easily bought them for my Xbox. So, I mean, the console war is basically at this point like the Bloods and the Crips. I mean, people just hating on what controller you are holding. And Sony, as much as they want to do exclusives and all of this stuff, we're slowly seeing them put their exclusives on PC, and now some are coming to Xbox. So, I don't know, man. I guess it's different strokes for different folks, but I don't see this as a console war. And this is coming from a console war veteran. I seen everything that Nintendo threw out. I saw everything that Sega threw out, and all of the outliers. Neo Geo, Atari, all of that stuff. Everything that they were throwing in the ring, and just the cream ends up rising to the top. That's not the situation here, because both of these companies, even though they're making a lot of money, the cream ain't rising to the top because neither one of them are doing anything spectacular. And honestly, the most spectacular thing that I've seen from consoles in the last few months is that Xbox is about to get Steam. And boy, when that happens, the game's gonna change. It's gonna change. That's gonna change the game on how video games are gonna be looked at for the next 15, 16 years. That's gonna change it. And you never know, man. It's gonna change the way consoles are. So yeah. But we gonna see, man. We gonna see. I mean, I don't know if anybody else feels the way that I do, but I just don't see this. The last couple of generations, I don't see it as a console war. It's two big companies making money, despite themselves. Just some people are doing it in an ethical way, and some people are doing it in an unethical way, like Xbox, they make these big promises and then fire a bunch of people and cancel projects. But they still on top. They still at the top of their game. They still got people playing stuff on Windows and PC. But and just like PlayStation, they drop a million remakes and remasters, and they getting remakes and remasters, and it's crazy. It's a crazy world we living in when it comes to gaming. I never thought I'd see the day I'd open the PlayStation store and the number one game that was bought in the PlayStation store was an Xbox game. Gaming is weird, y'all. It's weird. Don't buy into the console wars. Don't be a fanboy. Just enjoy games. Draylen for Star Child City Gaming. I'll be seeing y'all soon.